So make sure to write down. You can write on this too. Does anyone else want to color pen? Color code? Anyone else? Okay. So we're going to go over these. So first one was radicals. That was like one of the first lessons we went over. And I know we learned how to simplify radicals, but because of time and because you have to know so many things, I want to make sure you know how to do it on your calculator. So first, how do I get on the radical on my calculator? Do you guys remember what button you press in case it's not in radical form? Mode. So write this down. This is the calculator. This is what I mean by getting early sleep. Okay, so we click mode. Then what do you scroll down to? So on your calculator, you're clicking mode. And then what do you scroll down to? The other one, what is it? Math print. So math print means radicals. Classic is if I want to see if it's rational or irrational. Remember, classic is a 2 in decimal form. But math print, when you scroll down, so you go to mode and scroll down to math print and click enter. And then you could just click clear. And so now when you put it in there, it will simplify, add, subtract, whatever you want it to do. There you go. And so let's do one together to make sure you guys know what you're doing. So let's do like 2 radical 5 minus 3 radical 20. So 2 radical 5. So see if you can try to type that into your calculator. How do I do a radical? What buttons do I press? Remember? Second. And then what? X squared. So when you press second x squared, that gives you the radical sign. And so when you write that in, you do 2 radical 5. And then make sure you press the side button. Make sure it doesn't all go into the radical. Press the side button a couple times. Minus 3 radical 20. What answer do you get? Negative 4 radical 20. I'm sorry, negative 4 radical 5. Woo! Did everyone get that answer? Awesome. Now, is that number rational or irrational? Irrational, because it's radical 5. Is radical 5 a perfect square?
Oh.
No. And so how I could see that is if you go to mode and click classic, and you type that answer in, negative 4 radical 5, you can see it's a number that's a long decimal and doesn't repeat. So if I put this into classic, it ends up being 8.944271191, and it can't go any further because it's going on forever and ever like that. And I see that in classic. I know that that answer is irrational. So you guys have enough to remember in all your classes. I don't need you memorizing the rules unless you want to, but you know that you can type everything in and figure out, okay, if it's a long, non-terminating decimal, I know that it's irrational. Does that make sense? Okay, and so that radicals is in your notebook. So if you don't have it, make sure you put it in there. But we learned how to do it by hand, but make sure you do know how to do it on the calculator. All right, this one right here. First, when I see an inequality, what do I draw? The river, remember that? Then, since I combine my terms and distribute, but I can see that these two are not like terms. They're not two with the same last name. And these two are not the same last name. So then remember, I pick a side that I want X on and pick a side I want a number on. I want to put X on this side and my constant on that side. And you need to remember those words too when we'll go over constant, coefficient. So first, to move 2x to the other side, what do I do? If it's positive. subtract, right? So I'm going to subtract 2x to both sides. When you do that, don't drop that negative. You get negative 5 is less than 5x plus 15. And so all I did so far was move the x's to all one side. Now I want the numbers on this side, or the constants. How do I move 15 to that side? Subtract. And so remember, the biggest thing also, use the calculator. A lot of people will get this wrong because they'll drop a negative, or they won't use their calculator, and they'll have that answer choice model for you. These people, there's people's jobs to just make these assessments and figure out which answers are going to be the right, wrong answers. So everyone knows how to do the negative in your calculator? It looks like this. So negative 5 minus 15, what do you end up getting?
Negative 20.
Negative 20. Then how do you get x by itself? Divide by 5. The biggest thing is, see how x is on this side? Keep x on that side. When does that inequality flip? Dividing by a negative coefficient. See how 5 is positive? 5 is positive, it doesn't flip, it still stays the same way. And you end up getting negative 4 is less than x. And so even if you moved it around and you put x on the other side and then constant on, you flipped it, you would end up flipping the sign, but it would be the same thing. We know x is being eaten, so we know x is greater than. So if we were to have a line like this, we're going to have the graph like this. I have negative 4, negative 3, and negative 5. Is it an open circle or a closed circle on negative 4? Open, because there's no line underneath it. So I have an open circle, and then since x is being eaten, I know x is greater than. So I'm going to change in the numbers to the right that are greater than. Remember, negative is opposite of what you would think, right? Like negative 3 is larger than negative 4. It's owing money. Does that make sense? Okay. I'm going to go to the one next door. So this says negative x. If I have negative x, what's the invisible coefficient next to it? 1. And I know this is small, but I wanted to fit everything together. So see how I can't even touch x unless I get rid of this 13? What's the opposite of dividing by 13? Multiplying. So the first thing I'm going to do is multiply 13 on both sides. And so that crosses this out, and you get negative 1x is greater than or equal to, what do you end up getting? 91. Then how do you get x by itself? Divide, and if you're dividing by that negative coefficient, that sign you know is going to flip. Just make sure if x is right here, keep x on the same side, and you end up getting negative 91. And so when I draw that as a line, here's negative 91, negative 90, negative 92. I know x is less than. And so I would have a filled in circle because there's a line underneath it, and less than is always left. And so there's one step, there's inequalities just like this. If that's something you didn't remember and you want extra practice on, make sure you do a few more than 3 on that document. So next one is what we already went over. So domain and range. Remember, what's that test called where I draw a straight line to see if it passes my function? Vertical line test. So remember, you draw the vertical line test. See how if I were to draw a line goes beep, beep. See how it hit it twice? If it hits it more than once, it's not a function. These are examples of ones that are not functions, because if I were to draw a line through it, it would hit it twice. Now, domain and range is exactly like what we've been practicing. Exactly. Domain is side to side, so I'm going to see, okay, what's the smallest x there is right here? And what's the largest x right here? And is it touching that line? Is it touching it? Yeah, so I know it's going to be brackets. if I'm doing intervals, or an inequality with a line underneath it if I'm doing inequalities. And then here I can see it's from -4 to 4 is your domain. Because this is -4, that's +4. Over here, I would do the same thing. It goes from here to here, and it does touch it. And so it would be -5 to 5. So domain is side to side. You're saying what's the furthest left and the furthest right it goes. Yeah, same thing for the range. So if I'm doing it for the range, I'm doing up and down. So I can see it's touching, and it would be a bracket. And so I could see the smallest, remember the smallest number always goes first, is -2, and the highest is 2. Over here, I can see the smallest is -5, and the largest is 5. Remember, if it has brackets, I know it has inequalities that look like this. If it doesn't touch it, it would be regular inequalities. No problem. So over here, we can tell they're functions because I draw a line, it would only hit it once. But these domain and ranges are different. The domain, see, it goes right here, but then see how it has an arrow going forever and ever the other direction? That's when you would use it. If you have an arrow, you know you're going to be using infinity or negative. Because it's going side forever and ever and ever. So my domain is -infinity, and it's a parentheses because you could never get to actual infinity. Yeah. So this one right here would be parentheses because nothing ever touches infinity, right? And but right here, it would be a bracket because it touches right here. So this would be 5 with a bracket. Over here, you can see it's going in both directions forever and ever and ever. Do you guys see that? And so that would be infinity and negative infinity. So it looks something like this. This was in your quiz last time, and it may be pretty relevant, but you want to make sure you know this because this is going to be on your midterm tomorrow. Range is highest to lowest, so we can see the highest is right here, but the lowest is forever downwards, and so we know it's once again going to be negative infinity, and the highest is touching, which is 1, 2. Over here, the highest and lowest, we can see that it's going up forever and ever, and it's going to go down forever and ever, so it's actually going to be the same thing. So those are my answers for those two. Does that make sense? So these are going to be on your midterm. And so make sure I will give you color pens if you need to, but it is on a computer. All right. And so functions up there, you can see what can't repeat if it's a function. What letter?
Oh, we find
The domain or the x can't repeat. So if it repeats, we know it's not a function. So see how these two x's repeat? See how 0, 0, not a function. See how these two repeat? 0 is shared, not a function. And if I were to draw a vertical line right here, it hits it twice, it's not a function. So all those are examples of ones that are not functions. Now these, see how each one, x goes with a y? See how none of the x's repeat? These would all be functions, because x doesn't repeat. Can the y's repeat? Yeah. Okay, cool. We're going to go to the next part. And so I want to make sure we didn't learn this yet, but I want to make sure you at least know this right here. And so this says y equals 2/3 x minus 2. I know it's super small, but we're going to make sure we've got this down. So what is our y-intercept here? -2. So remember, y-intercept, a lot of people are starting the graph on their x-intercept. Y-intercept goes right here, -2. And so if you forget this one, graphing, it will be on your test. So make sure that you look over that guided note. Then we know our slope is 2/3. So am I running or am I rising? Rise 2. And you're always going right 3. Rise, remember, rise, run, right. So since it's positive, I'm going up 2 over 3. 1, 2, 3. And you just draw a line through it. So it looks like that. So you plot the y-intercept. You go up 2 over 3. If it was negative, you would go down 2 over 3. These ones we didn't learn and we will learn. The only thing I want to make you aware of is if they give you a point like 2, 5, they may say, tell me if that is a solution. All you would have to do is plug it into here, right here, and figure out is it a solution. And so let me give you one that actually works out. I'll give you 6, 0. I want to see if that is a solution for this one right here. So all you do, what is your y coordinate? Right here. 0. So instead of y, I'm going to plug in 0. And this is what I'm talking about when I say plug it in a million times. And what's your x coordinate? 6. And so you can put this into your calculator. Do you guys remember how to put a fraction into your calculator? What button? ND, right? So put 2/3 in ND, and then you press the side button, 6 minus 2. And see what you end up getting. What do you guys end up getting when you put this in? This whole thing right here.
2.
You end up getting 2. And so see, is 2 greater than 0? Is that true? Is 2 greater than 0? Yes, so that would be a solution. And so that's the only thing I would do. Make sure that you plug in your answer choices. So if they ask you something's a solution, plug it in, plug it in. So if you see the word solution, you know plug it in, plug it in. Does that make sense? All right, this is the slope. So remember, you take 2 points that fall on the graph. So if I take this one and this one right here, you count the rise over run. So what is the rise on this from here to here? Do it on your own paper because mine is going to hurt my eyes. I'm going to look on my own paper.
5. Y, 3, 5.
So you can rise that much, or if you look right here, because I can really see it, you can rise 1 and run 2. Either way you do it, if you reduce, you'll get the same answer. So if you're rising 1 and running 2, you know your slope is positive 1/2, right? To write in slope-intercept form, we just do y equals your slope 1/2. What's your y-intercept here?
1.
Not 1, 2, right? Right here? Plus 2. What's the slope of this one if I'm going down 1 over 2? Negative 1/2. And so this would be the same thing, but now it's going to be negative 1/2. And the y-intercept still 2. What if it's a straight line like that? What letter could I make? A Z. So what's this slope? 0. This is called a horizontal line, right? And we also know it looks like y equals a number. What about this one? Undefined, right? And so that equation would look like x equals a number. So right here we can see your x is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this equation would be x equals 4. Parallel, we didn't go over yet, but all parallel means is same slope, different y-intercept. So if you see parallel, just automatically right now think of same slope. I'm not sure. I don't think that will be on your test. We'll be getting to that. All right. We're switching gears back to unit 1, polynomials. So we need to know these vocabulary terms and know how to add and subtract. So add, remember, you just drop the parentheses and combine like terms. Remember, negative people are extra, right? So there's that extra step. What number do you need to put right after this negative sign right here, minus sign? Remember? 1. And so remember, you have to distribute this negative to all 3 terms. And so this is gonna pop up. There may be multiplying on your test. I'm not teaching you that, so just try the best you can, because I'm teaching at a different unit. But there may be one question on that, but make sure if it looks like an adding and subtracting, that we go through this. If it is multiplying, which means there's no sign in between them, try the best you can. Or make an educated guess, because I don't want to cram information in your brain. So what happens with this 3? What does it become? Negative. What does this become? Negative 2x. And what does that become? Positive 9. Do I change the sign to the first one? No, so I'm just going to rewrite it. Remember, if it's positive, you can still put the 1, but it's not going to really change anything. So this is polynomials. This was like your first lesson, right? Maybe first or second lesson from unit 1. So if you want to go back to those, make sure you go back to it. Then we combine like terms. So remember, we look at who has the same last name. So we have a couple of last names here. So if we look, what's our highest exponent here? 3. X to the 3rd. What do we consider 3? What vocabulary term is that? Degree. So remember, if I said it's 100 degrees out, we see that little 0 reminds me, oh, I'm looking at the exponents. The highest exponent is your degree. So maybe you forgot about that. Write that down, because these vocabulary terms will be on there. So right here, the only x to the 3rd is this one, and make sure you keep the sign with it, right? And so I'm going to put that under this category. When I'm done with it, I'm going to cross it out. What's the next highest exponent? 2, right? So I have 2x squared, and that's it. So I'm going to put plus 2x squared because it's positive, and cross it out when I'm done. Next highest exponent? Good. What's the exponent for that, though? 1. Remember, the highest exponent is an invisible 1. So we have negative 5x minus 2x, because they both have negative, and cross it out. What's that number by itself called? Constant. You need to know that word. Remember the constant nag. Now I write that down. Constant. And so we have negative 1 and positive 9. And so this is combining like terms. They're all the same. Adding, subtracting, polynomials. Basically, they're the same thing. So there's nothing to combine the first one with, so I'm just going to bring it down. So I know this 3 is the degree. What about that number in front? Do you remember what that vocabulary word is called? It is coefficient, but the what coefficient? Leading coefficient. So leading coefficient, wow. Leading coefficient is the line leader, but it has to be with the highest degree. So if negative 3 would be considered your leading coefficient. Then 2 right here would just be a coefficient. Remember, coefficient is like co-worker, co-teaching, co-lab, co-means together. Constant would not be a coefficient because there is nothing attached to it. Then what's negative 5 minus 2? Negative 7. So make sure don't do negative 5 minus negative 2. It's the biggest mistake I see. We keep the exponents. Negative 1 plus 9. 8. And so we know 8 is our constant. How many terms are there here? 4. Each one being added and subtracted is a term. So there would be 4 terms. What's a monomial? 1 term. Remember, mono means 1. So monomial is 1 term. Binomial, 2 terms. Trinomial, 3 terms. And poly just means many. So this would be a polynomial. Does that make sense? That's a lot. That's why I want to make sure you guys got this down so that you can be able to practice and figure that out. Remember, if you're adding polynomials too, if they ask for perimeter, remember that? You want to find the perimeter of a shape. You know you're adding, combining like terms. So if you look at number 7 on this worksheet, that would be like adding polynomials, so that's like combining like terms. All right, last one is just translating. So what does increased by mean? Add. So it'd be 7 plus, we'll just use x. 7 increased by a number. 12 decreased by, what's decreased by mean? Yeah, 12 minus x. 11 more than a number. Adding, right? Because it's a number plus 11. 11 more than that number. 5 less than a number. Minus. Remember, is less than would be the inequality sign. So less than, but I start with the number because it's 5 less than that. Remember, these are the turnaround words. Remember those? That's something you don't remember. I'll go over that. 7 more than twice a number. How do I write twice a number? 2x and then 7 more than that. The product of 5 and 3 times a number. So the product of 5, what does product mean? Multiply. And 3 times a number. So those might be words that you want to look over. The difference of a number and 15, what does difference mean? Subtract. So you literally write it in order. Number minus 15. The only turnaround words is like less than, more than. Those are the ones that you would turn around. So, I think there's only 2 left. I'm going to do literal real quick down here. So this is what we did last class. This was with the circle. So natural, whole numbers, integers, just so you know what rational and irrational look like. Here is literal. So literal means you're literally solving for a letter. This is the one that I would feel like how many people, because I'm one of them, feel like this was probably the most difficult lesson because there's so much going on. And so this is one that I would make sure that you guys get because the Delta Math is way easier than what it may be on the test. And so I can even give you extra help if you want to, but there are ones on the tested. So first, how do you get rid of a fraction? It wants me to solve for r. So first I'm going to rewrite it. This is pretty small. Now I want to solve for r. So first, how do I get rid of a fraction? Anyone remember? Good. You hear? Multiply by its reciprocal. So what is the reciprocal of 1/3? 3/1, or you can even do 3, right? So first thing, get rid of the fraction that's being multiplied. We multiply by its reciprocal. When you do that, you end up getting, what's 3/1 equal? 3. And 3 times b is just 3b equals pi r squared h. And so I got rid of the fraction because I multiplied on both sides. The biggest mistake I see is that people aren't multiplying on both sides. Then how do I get rid of pi and h? Divide. It's all being multiplied. I can't do that. I can't get rid of that 2 yet, though. A lot of people are putting that 2 in. I only can get rid of pi and h. And so when you do that, you end up getting 3b over pi h equals r squared. What's the inverse of squaring? Square root. And so you would square root both sides. And so that would end up being your answer, or if I want to rewrite it, it's 3b over pi h equals r. And so that may be something you want to practice. It's just all you're doing is undoing and undoing and undoing. All right. Last one is equations. So these are the ones that if you forget how to do it or you're not getting the right answer, what could you do with your answer choices? Plug it in. So this one we could do that, but look at this right here. First, when I'm distributing, that means multiply, right? So when you distribute, what's 2 times x? 2x, and 2 times -9? -18 equals 12. How do you get x by itself? Make sure, we need to get the constant away first. How do we get this constant? Add 18, right? Because that's the biggest mistake I see people do. And that answer choice will be there. They'll make sure to work it out so that answer choice will be there. And so you end up getting 2x equals 30. Then what do? Divide by 2. And you get x we know that would be my solution. And so if that was an answer choice, I would make sure to check your work by plugging it back in. So that means when you're typing it into your calculator, you type it just like this, but instead of X, put 15 in the parentheses. So it looks like that. And don't put an equal sign. You want to see, does it equal 12 when you plug it into your calculator? If it does, you know it's correct. This one is a little bit different. I'm going to do it color. This one, I would distribute, and because the time is a little fast, you end up getting 2x minus 10 equals 2x plus 7. You draw your river and you pick a side you want x on, pick a side you want a number on. And so it doesn't matter which one, because you'll get the same answer. So when I subtract, what's 2x minus 2x? What is it? What's 2 minus 2? 0. The biggest mistake I see is you guys leave 0 or like leave an x. 2x minus 2x is just 0. Keep 0 there. How do I get the number to that side? This one. Add, right? So what is 7 plus 10? 17. So you end up getting 0 equals 17. No x, nothing like that. A number equals a different number. If a number equals a different number, what's the solution? No solution. Parallel lines, I don't think they'll mention this, but they have no solution. Over here, when you do it, last one, you end up getting 3x plus 6 equals x plus 2x plus 6. When you do this and combine like terms, what's x plus 2x? 3x. Do you guys see how they end up being exactly the same?
Yeah.
So if you were to subtract and do all that, you would end up getting 0 equals 0. Does 0 equal 0? How many solutions are there? Infinite. That means you could put any number in for x and it would work. So if I put 2 in for x, it would work. Okay. So you guys only have like 12 minutes. I didn't realize I was going to have the computers. So you can have a choice of either working. I would make sure you still work on that packet because it is like what's going to be on your test. And if you finish it, I'll give you extra credit. Like if you want to do it tonight and hand it in, I'll give you extra credit for that. The packet that's on